Hello out there, and welcome to today's Search Engine Journal webinar. Hope you're having a great day, and we're so happy to have you here with us. I am joined by Malin Blumberg, CEO of BidBrain. Hi, Malin. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about Google Shopping and 5 ways that AI can increase your e-commerce sales and increase those profits for you. And that's what we're all after, right? So let's get to it real quick. My name is Heather. I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm going to go through some quick housekeeping, and then I'm going to turn it over to Marlon to give you all of the great information that she has today. So use hashtag SEJ webinars to share any cool tidbits from today's learning on social. And if you experience any technical difficulties, please use the chat box to let us know. If you have questions for Malin, and she's actually going to bring a couple of her teammates on for the Q&A. So if you have any questions for this team, use that Q&A tab. Throw it in the chat, it works as well. If you see a question that you like, you can give it a little thumbs up and upvote that, and that'll be something that tells us it's important to you all out there. And we're going to answer as many of those questions that we can at the end of the presentation. So if you need closed captioning, we do have that. It's the little CC in the top right corner of your screen, and we'll link to any resources or tools in the chat, and we've got the handouts in the handout tab, and Malin will walk you through those in a little bit. 2 quick things, and then I'm out of here. After the webinar, we do have a survey. If you can take a second to take that, it just lets us know how useful these webinars are for you and how we can make them better. And then lastly, you will receive today's recording in your inbox with all the resources. So watch for that. That's enough for me. Marlon, I'm going to get out of here. It's all yours.
Thank you, Heather. And first of all, warm welcome to this webinar on Google Shopping and 5 ways AI can increase your e-commerce sales and profit. And thank you all for joining and for dedicating this hour on this trending subject called AI and how that can increase your performance. So I will then share my 5 best ways that AI could help you beat the competition on Google Shopping ads, or product listing ads, as they also are called. And the topics for today and the 5 areas I will go through with the rather cryptical titles are good or garbage data, 1 to rule them all, or 3, the tail, 4, the king of the hill, and 5, price difference. So who am I then talking about this today? Well, my name, as Heather mentioned, is Malin Blumberg, and I'm the CEO of BidBrain. And BidBrain are Google Shopping experts specialized on exactly this type of advertising. And we started off by seeing a problem on the market, and we decided to approach that problem with the help of data and AI 2 years back. So we've been around for a while, and that's why we are standing here today sharing some insights and advice on today's topic. So now to these 5 areas. But as Heather mentioned, there will be a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. And for that session, I will also bring 2 of my amazing colleagues, our CPO, Pontus Wihager, and our chairman, Fredrik Lindros, to answer the more technical questions, if you might have those. But now to the first one, good data or garbage data. And since we're talking about AI today, the most important part, I would say, when using AI is actually what kind of data you're feeding your AI. Because if you are feeding it with garbage quality data, how good and advanced machinery you might have AI-wise, you will always get garbage results. That's the bias of AI. But if you put in or fuel your engine with high quality, high octane data, it will run much better. So the quality of the data, it's super important when it comes to AI. And it's especially important when it comes to Google Shopping ads. Because for traditional text ads, for those you could pinpoint specific search terms and place bids on those that you want. But for shopping ads, it's your product data, your product feed, that is your ad. So I will give you this example. Here in front of you, you see 3 different ads. these ads have different kind of data and different information, and they have also placed different bids. On the left-hand side, you see one ad with a bid of €2 or $2. In the middle, 1.5 euros, and on the right-hand side, 0.5. And of these three ads, who do you think would win the best placement or the best ad rank? Yes, it is actually the ad on the right-hand side with the lowest bid. Now, why is that? Well, the key to success here is that you have pictures according to Google's recommendations, that you have optimized titles, but also that you have granular levels of data. Because Google has, as you know, probably something called quality score. And your ad rank is dependent on, yes, of course, the bid level, but also the quality score. And for shopping ads, the quality score have three parameters that they're looking at. One is the expected click-through rate. And that is important because Google lives on selling clicks. So they want to push clickable ads. Secondly, it's the landing page experience. Because Google cares about you as a user, they want you to come back and to search for more products on Google. So their landing response times and also what kind of content you have on your landing pages and so on is important. But the third and maybe most important part is the ad relevance. Here's where the data comes in. And here you need to make sure that you're using and having all the mandatory attributes that Google requires, that you have optimized titles, and that you have pictures, high quality pictures according to Google's recommendations. Now, one thing that I see is the most important when it comes to Google shopping ads are your titles and looking into them and optimizing those. And here you see another example. On the left-hand side, you have one ad with a very short title. On the right-hand side, you have another ad with a much more structured title, including maybe your brand, the name of the product, it could be the category, size, keywords, and so on. And the more data you put into your titles, the better the AI engine can match with the converting search terms. So here it's important to think of what your customers are searching for when buying your products. And also here, an AI tool can really come in handy. And how we have solved this is that, for example, if you are a store selling clothes and you are selling a red dress, for example, then our AI looks at the historical data and looks at what people actually have searched for when pressing your ad and buying your product. So what our AI then can see is that, okay, people that have bought your red dress, they haven't searched for red dress. They have searched for red party dress. And then our AI knows that we should add party to the title. So that is a super efficient way to optimize your titles towards the actual converting search terms. So this is important. But now you might ask yourself if this really is important. Does this really drive my sales by optimizing the titles and putting more data into my product feed? Well, here's another example. Here we look at conversion value based on Google category depth. So on the left-hand side, you can see how much conversions are driven from products with 4 or more category levels in the product feed. And by category level, we mean, for example, if you sell men's and women's clothing, and then you have maybe tops and t-shirts and so on. So, and in this example, roughly around 86% of the conversion value comes from products having 4 or more category levels. And only 10% of the conversion value comes from products without any category level. So that's a good finding, right? But if you then look into the product feed, and this is a very common example, it looks quite different. So of all the products in the products feed, not even half of the products have 4 or more levels. And over half of the products have no category level at all. So here as well, an AI tool or a automated scraping engine can come in handy, because it's quite common that you have these category levels on your website, on your web shop, but for some reason not included in the feed. So by adding this data, the bidding engine and the AI engine can be much more granular in matching your products with the correct and the right converting search terms. So this is super important, I would say. So for this first chapter or area, good or garbage data, check so all your mandatory attributes are included in your feed. Check your product titles and use AI tools to optimize for higher conversion search terms. And 3, use high quality pictures and more data for a more granular bidding. Now to the second part, one to rule them all, or yes, and if you recognize this phrasing, it is correct. It's from Lord of the Rings, the movie. And the idea there was to have one ring to dominate all the other rings and all the living creature of Middle-earth, right? Not that good of idea, or? But the thing is that for e-commerces, they tend to have the same mindset when it comes to setting ROAS targets. They put one ROAS target for their whole assortment. But now if R is revenue in ROAS, you would most likely have different kind of assortments. So let me give you another example. Let's say you are a beauty store selling different kind of beauty products. You might have your own branded products where you have 50% gross margin, for example. And then you maybe sell other branded products such as L'Oreal or Chanel, where you only have 10% gross margin. If you then were to put one ROAS target for your whole product feed, you would be much more profitable on your own brand versus the other brands, right? So why don't you use profit as metrics when setting your targets? The fact is that very few e-commerces does this today. So one way to approach this is, of course, to optimize your campaigns towards POAS, profit on ad spend, and use your profit in your feed setting your targets. I know that this is quite sensitive information, but there are certain tools offering this today, such as Profit Metrics or Sniffy and so on. And we don't have any cooperation with those, but I'd just like to recommend good solutions. But by optimizing towards POAS, you will be break even always. So this is a really good way of optimizing your campaigns. And here you see an example actually from Profit Metrics website. And this customer, just by changing from ROAS to tracking POAS instead, they managed to increase their gross profit with nearly 24% and at the same time lower their ad spend drastically with over 60%. So this is a very good tool. But if you can't measure profit, there are other workarounds. And what I recommend here is to use several different ROAS groups with different products in them and optimizing towards different kind of filtering on different parameters, I would say. So this you can set up in Google Ads today, but it's a bit tricky. But there are other AI tools offering easier solutions to set up different ROAS targets and different ROAS groups, such as ours. But what you then do is you create a ROAS group, and then you filter on, it could be article ID, brands, price levels, or if it's on sale or not, custom labels. And using custom labels, you can actually put in if a product is a high margin product, low margin product, or mid margin product, for example. And then you set your budgets. And then an AI tool can then move products between these groups depending on the parameters that you're measuring. So this is another way, a workaround of optimizing your profitability. And here's just one example of a customer of ours that has used these kind of campaigns. And in this case, they used a shared budget, but have 4 different ROAS targets because they have different margins on different categories, but also for different brands. So this is a very efficient way of working with ROAS targets in a smarter way. So to summarize, one to rule them all, or no, use either POAS if you can steer the AI, or alternatively use AI tools to set different ROAS per gross margin group. Now to the third area, the tail. a rather cryptical title, but maybe one of my favorites because it's gone through so many trials over the years. So let's dig straight into it. So in front of you now, you see a classic Pareto analysis, right? And for you, done business, know what this is. But it's basically about stacking products in terms of size of revenue in order. And then you can find that 20% of your products stands for 80% of your sales. Now, for an AI, where do you think it will work best? Would it be in the front where you have much products with much sales data, or in the tail where you have few sales and few clicks? Yeah, you're right, in the front. Here an AI solution works quite good because there you have data to optimize on. But in the tail, it's much more difficult for an AI to work. It's sort of the catch-22 moment because you need to feed and have data to be able to perform, right? But there are tricks around this, and I will get into that soon. But first, another example. And this is how it often looks like when we onboard new customers that have used other AI and automated bidding tools before. It's that roughly around 20% of the products have historical data, historical clicks. And some of them are above the ROAS target and others below. And here an AI can work and optimize and perform much better. But how about in this case, 82.5% of the products without any clicks at all? So here is where an AI engine can come in handy. And specifically what we are using is what we call a tier logic, which basically is a logic where the AI tries to sort products in terms of amount of data and quality of data. And I will guide you through this step by step. So at the top, you have tier 1. In that tier, you have products with good quality data. Then you have the second tier. In this one, you have products with little amount of data. And in the third tier, there you have the products without any historical data or very, very few data. So what you want to do is basically push product upwards in this tier logic. And in tier 3, it's all about gathering data. So here our AI is exploring a bit and gradually increasing from a very, very low click price to increasing the click prices very thoroughly. And as soon as you get some data, get some click data, it pushes upwards to tier 2. And in this tier, we have another logic that we call clustering, but where we try to group products with similar parameters together, explaining if it's a high or low likelihood of a conversion. And it could be parameters such as product in the same category, in the same price range, for example, maybe the same brand as well. And to become a cluster, you need to have at least 1,000 clicks. And then within each cluster, we try to find the bidding sweet spot. That means the bid level or click price level that gives the most of conversion value and volume to the lowest bid price possible. So that is a way to grouping products together in a higher level to use click data from different products and by that way activating more and fetching more click data. And as soon as we have sufficient data here, it's pushed upwards again to the first tier. And in this tier where you have good quality data, we could use other parameters such as time of the day, which device you're using, maybe price comparison data, and so on. So this is a way of pushing products upwards in the tier and activating the long tail of products where you have a hidden potential of revenue by activating them. So does this work then? Well, yes, this is an example of a customer of ours that used to focus only on their top sellers before. You can see the gray bars here. So, but thanks to the tier logic and the clustering logic, we managed from day one when they started using BidBrain, 4 times increase their sales at the same cost of sale target. So this was basically thanks to this clustering logic where we looked at the historical data and saw that, okay, this microwave was successful on Google Shopping and got lots of conversions, then these microwaves with the same kind of parameters, maybe same price range, same brand and so on, would also be interesting on Google Shopping. So by grouping them together and placing similar bids on similar products, we managed to scale their sales in a controlled way. So to summarize this third area, the tail, use algorithms and AI to activate the long tail of products. And by activate, we mean gathering more click data to increase the predictability of the AI, and then pushing products upwards in the tiers for more sales in a better way. So that was the third area. Now to the fourth one, King of the Hill, and let's dive straight into it. And by King of the Hill, we mean being in top of the bidding war. But why would you want to be there or do that? Well, it's because being in top of the bidding war, you will also be in top of the impression share versus your competitors. And impression share is basically market share on Google Shopping. So by always bidding X times higher than your competitors, you will be at an impression share maximum all the time. And why is this important? Well, let me take another example here. On the left-hand side, you see purple dots, and those are clusters that I explained earlier. If you look at the purple dot with the green circle, and you're only looking at this perspective, where you see conversion value per click is quite high and you have a decent volume, you would be rather satisfied with the performance of this cluster, right? But if you add the impression share layer, the graph on the right-hand side, you see that your impression share is very little compared to your competitors, and you still have a cost room, or you could increase your bids. So here, by just increasing the cost a bit, you can increase your impression share, and by doing that, also increasing your sales volumes. So this is a very efficient tool to use to also look at your impression share to grow your sales. And we have built a solution specifically for this that we call the Turbo campaign. And how this one works is that we look at the competitors and how they are bidding, and always bidding X times higher to always be on top all the day, all the time. And this is a super efficient way to work if you want to push specific products, for example, if you have a campaign or so, if you want to sell out stock levels or get rid of products, or if you might have a new product launch and want it for brand building. But it can become quite costly since you're always bidding higher than your competitors. So you should use it not for all your products. So to summarize, King of the Hill, it's a very strong and powerful way to dominate a specific category or niche. And what you basically do is bidding X times higher than your competitors in order to always be visible. But don't overuse if you're not willing to take this risk. Now to the fifth area and the last one, price difference, and maybe the area that contributes the most to your conversion rates. And we did a recent study on all our existing customers and their products and how they actually are pricing their products. And what we found was that 25% of the products were priced 10% or higher compared to the competitors. Now, why is this interesting? Well, what we then saw was that if you're priced in the same level as your competitors or better, you have a conversion rate of roughly around 4%. But by only having prices up to 10% higher than your competitors, the conversion rate drops to half, to 2%, and then it declines. So how you're pricing your products is super important for your conversion rates. And this study is actually also in the handout if you're interested to read more. Now, what would you do with this information? And I know this is quite a nerdy AI slide. Sorry for that. But I just want to show you how much conversions are happening if you're priced at the same level or better as your competitors. Now, maybe you're already using this kind of data and maybe using the dynamic pricing and adjusting your prices accordingly to always match the best price versus your competitors. That's super good if you're doing that. And then AI is a super good tool to use for specifically that. But what you also can do is actually adjust your bids accordingly. And here you can also use AI because it's quite a lot of data and prices are changing constantly. So let the AI do the heavy lifting here. But if you're using this data, the price benchmark data in your bidding, you can actually stop bidding on those products that are priced 10% higher than your competitors to stop bid on those products that doesn't convert. So this is a super interesting data to also use in your bidding. So to summarize this fifth area, price difference. So price difference strongly affects the conversion rates. Already, just by having 10% higher prices versus your competitor, the conversion rate drops to half. So either work heavily on your product pricing versus competitors or adjust your bid prices accordingly to how the competitors are pricing. So those were the 5 ways to use AI for Google Shopping ads, and I will quickly run through them again. First out, we've talked about good or garbage data. So it's not only about the bid levels, it's also about your bid or data quality of your feed. And here you can use AI to optimize your titles or to add more data. Second was want to rule them all or no. Use POAS or several ROAS target groups for better performance. Third was the tail, and that has to do to activate the long tail of products to increase your sales by using AI. Fourth, king of the hill, don't forget impression share. It's a super efficient way if you want to maximize or be king of the hill of a certain category or niche. And 5, use price difference data, either to match with the best price compared to your competitors or using your bidding, and stop bidding on products that doesn't convert. So with that said, it's now time to open up for some questions, and I would like to welcome Pontus and Fredrik to join.
Oh, I beat him here. Malin, that was fantastic information. Thank you so much. Awesome. Do you want to introduce your guests real quick?
Pontus, please go ahead.
Sure. So I can introduce myself. My name is Pontus Wihager, and I work as the CPO at BidBrain. So any product or tech-related questions, please ask me.
Cool, and I'm Fredrik Lindros, the chairman of BidBrain, and also the CEO for Specta, who is owning BidBrain as a company. And Specta is a Nasdaq-listed company out of Stockholm.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and remove these slides. There we go. Now everybody can see us. Let's do this thing. All right. So first question. What are the most common issues you see with e-commercers using Google's PMax, or if you take over an e-commerce campaign that has already been using PMax?
Pontus, maybe you're the best to answer this one.
Yeah, sure. So I would say it's a lot related to the tail that Molly mentioned in the presentation. And that this has to do really with the fact that it's much easier for PMax to bid well on products with the data than products without data. So usually what we see is advertiser end up bidding really high on the 10% of the products that they have data on. But the problem there is that they leave out the rest, the 90% of the products. And usually that could be fine if you're like into the fully automatic, you're pretty hands off. But in a lot of cases, the reason why they come to us is usually because they've worked really hard to set up a really wide range of products. So maybe they have 1,000 or 10 or 100,000 products that they sell, and they want to advertise all of this and really work with their full product range. And in that case, we see that PMax. It's really hard to steer PMax to actually start bidding on this 90%. So that's what we see, all the time. I hope that answered the question.
Perfect. Thank you. So from Alexander, who also, Frederick, you'll have to let us know, did he pass the Rorschach test, or did we fail?
Yeah, there is no fail or pass in that test. That's the whole psychological thing about that. But he saw a brain, and I guess he's a smart person. So that's my psychological interpretation of his spotting there.
Awesome. Well, his question is, how does Google plan on deploying AI on the consumer side, and how would those efforts interact with PPC and SEO efforts?
Pontus, maybe?
Yeah, sure. It's a tricky question, but I think maybe this relates to sort of the ChatGPT that Bing added recently. So I don't know, but I actually got an email today about Bing adding ads into their ChatGPT answers. So yeah, maybe that's the future. I don't know. Related to products, I still think that consumers, they have a pretty set way of searching for products, and they're used to this sort of the Google Shopping way with presenting a list of products. That's how people interact with shopping ads right now. So I think it would be hard for Google to do much more there. But I guess Google will get smarter to recommend personalized results, and they're really good at it now. So I think maybe that's the future. Like you telling Google, okay, this is what I like, and Google responds with even more personalized ads. That could be a way. But yeah, it's a super interesting question.
Yeah, only time's going to tell how this all just grows, right?
And right now, I haven't seen any public figures, but I've seen other questions. Okay. I've seen some other data that regarding the ad revenues that Google has, I don't think they will leave that business very soon. So what I've seen is that around 65% of all ad clicks comes from shopping ads. So it's still a high and a large business out of their revenue ads.
Yeah, thank you both for adding that. Adrienne has a question. She says, does your tool check competitor pricing?
Yeah,
Should I?
Pontus, yeah, you can answer this one.
The thing is, we get being in CSS in Europe, we actually get some of that data from Google, and it's available for CSS. But it depends on sort of what type of products you sell. So if you're using the GTIN, it's much easier to get product data, and in some cases we can get it from Merchant Center, but we also can get it from third parties. So to answer, yes, right now we're using sort of two sources to compare data. Because yeah, as Malin said also in the presentation, it's a really good indicator of how well your product will convert.
Okay. Aman has the question. So yes, Aman, you will be getting the deck presented in the webinar. You will get this full recording too, along with any resources. So that'll all be in an email that'll hit your inbox later today. So with that, another question. So if I understand correctly, activating long tail to increase sales volume, the AI finds comparable products not doing so well and then brings that up. Does that in any way cannibalize the best product that you were selling before?
I can answer that one. No, not that we see. So it's not similar products, but it could be parameters that are similar. And what we saw, as you saw in the example, we managed to increase and 4 times increase the sales, but not cannibalizing on the existing sales, rather adding more sales. So not what we have seen.
Okay. When running automated shopping campaigns like PMax or BidBrain, what are the most effective tactics for improving performance?
Yeah, I think I can answer that one. So what we see the most common issue is still the feed. So the data, the product data that you feed into Google. So usually that's where we start. We always do a feed audit. Do you have all the correct attributes? Is the attributes optimized? And do you have all the correct structure as well? If you have that in place, then that's great. We usually see the biggest uplift when advertisers going from one campaign into multiple campaigns, because that's really the best way to steer the AI into putting budget and converting in these the high converting products, or however you want to steer it. Some people might have different brands that they want to pinpoint, that they want to increase the conversion value for, or they have measuring POAS, like Malin mentioned. So there's a bunch of different ways, and usually that's a pretty easy way of increasing the performance. Yeah.
Okay. Akira asks, would you recommend using Performance Max? And if so, how long would you recommend until changing the max conversions or the value?
I don't know if I got the question right, but I think for Performance Max and all of these automated services, I know that Google recommends something about 30 to 45 conversions per month, I think, to actually do a good job. So yeah, I think running what we call a warm-up period, we usually tell our customers we have a warm-up period of between 2 and 6 weeks, depending on how much volume you have. But really, it comes down to how many conversions you get and how many products you advertise. So I would say, yeah, aim to have at least 30, 45 conversions before you do any tweaks. And a good recommendation there is to set a bit lower ROAS target in the beginning, because this means that you can get more volume in the beginning and see conversions. And then when you see like, okay, I know sort of how much budget I have, I can see how much I pay per conversion and where my ROAS lands, then you can start doing this optimization by like splitting up the campaigns, adjusting the ROAS, and doing more optimization. Yeah.
Okay. Alexander had a good question that others might be curious about. Is there a trial run of BidBrain?
Yes, we always offer a 30 days trial with no commitments and no costs. So that's also because we also have as an AI a warm-up period, but also so you can try out and test the functions and see how it works. So we offer that, yes.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I know Frederick's answering them in the Q&A published side. So if you all haven't seen that, you can check out some of those answers in there as well. Okay. So let's see, question from W. For these promotion product feed, would AI push them to have more visibility and exposure rather than the feed with the original price? As AI foresee price promotion feed can trigger more clicks.
Yeah, I would say it's a good question, but I would say it's not a manual setting. So like, okay, we will promote the sale prices specifically, but yeah, it's definitely something that the AI would detect automatically. Um, and even with the price comparison data, usually having a lower price or a discount price will mean that you have a competitive price, and that will, of course, higher the CPC and get you more impression, more clicks. So yeah, the answer is yes, but it's not like a manual setting. It's not something that we push manually. It's automated.
Okay. Question from Michelle. Will the AI still work well if you have a multi-tiered pricing model when the price changes based on quantity ordered?
Good question. I would say that really depends on how you put the information about the price in the feed, really, and also how you track your conversions. So I think in the end, it would probably affect it, because let's say you have a really good discount, or if you add more products, then your conversion rate would be higher. And when the conversion rate is higher, you will get more conversion value, and that would in the end lead to the AI picking that up, and yeah, probably increasing the CPC. So yeah, in the end, we would pick it up, but there's not a manual way of adding it in the feed. I guess you could use the promotional feed, but I'm not sure how that would work with multiple products.
Okay. Let's see. For a small, medium company just entering the DTC from marketplace selling, what's the minimum period you would recommend to run Google Ads or social to gather performance data before approaching someone like a BidBrain?
Should I take that one as
Yeah,
well?
you can take that. It's has to do with the
Yeah, but and I think that's sort of what I said before. It comes down to really how many conversions you have, and like aiming to set a pretty high budget to start with, maybe a little bit lower ROAS to collect data and see it as a collection data period. And yeah, when you have, like, depending on how many products you have, like say when you come up to 30 conversions, then yeah, it's probably good to move to automated service like BidBrain. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So Michelle asks, oh, we already answered that one. I'm sorry. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Alexander asks, is there a particular industry or product type where you've seen the most success?
Not really. Our service works for all the different verticals, but you need to be an e-commerce selling products to be on Google Shopping. So I mean that's the limit, but we can't really see any difference between different segments or verticals as a whole. So I would say no.
I could add there, maybe we had seen, like, comparing at least to PMax, we had stores that get a lot of new products in constantly. So we have a bookshop, for example, they get constantly new products without data. So in that case, feeding all these new products into a service like PMax that really needs this data, then we found that we actually work better, really, really good there, because of this clustering and being able to bid on products with less data or no data at all. So maybe that could be a niche, but yeah, very, very wide segment, I guess.
Yeah, and that I think that touched on Frank's question as well, who's asking about niches for specialization. I think we may have hit them all. Frederick, I know you pinged me and said there was one. Did we get that one? Obvious niches. I
Yeah.
think we might be through them. All right. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And you will absolutely receive, this recording later today. It'll have all your resources in it. But Malin, would you like to tell everybody how to find you and the BitBrain team?
I can also mention that in the handouts, you also have a link to, if you want us to do a free pre-analysis of your existing account, you can press that link and sign up and get this free report that also Pontus talked about. But otherwise, you can head on to bidbrain.com and sign up there, or you could connect to us all three on LinkedIn. We also have a company page on LinkedIn where we post different blog posts and so on. So you can go there and follow us as well.
Perfect. Malin, Pontus, Frederick, thank you all for being here with us today and sharing your knowledge. And thank you to all of our attendees for coming. And we'll see you on the next SEJ webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.